and then you get a big payoff from it. That feels really good. Well, hey there. Welcome back. I was talking with someone recently who happens to be reading The Sword and the Sunflower, and he is definitely a type A personality person, somebody who's an entrepreneur, somebody is just very engaged all day long in what he does. But he was telling me about how engrossing the book was for him, and of course that made me tickled to hear that. But it made me think of something, because I said, sometimes downtime for an engaged brain is difficult. I mean, so this is something that I mention in my coaching all the time, in that there are people that want to do a thing, they want to accomplish something, but they're so drained from their job that when they get home, they have the time, but they don't have the energy. And energy is a big deal in my formula of time, energy, and resources. So this podcast is kind of going to pull together both Alchemy for Life and my fiction, which is kind of cool. So those people that get home and they don't have the energy to do their thing, they end up watching mindless television or doing mindless things because they're just sitting there staring like they have a brain slug or something, and there's nothing left of them. But there are also people who are in a different position who would come to me for a different reason for coaching. And those people may be type A people who actually are quite happy with their engaging job and their engaging life. And they come home, well, and their brain is still engaged. Their brain's still engaged, and they don't necessarily want to do any more work. They don't want to watch mindless television or even read. So they may not even want to read something because they sort of feel like it doesn't engage with them the way that what they do for a living does, or their pursuits, right? And that made me realize the gentleman I was talking to just said the opposite. He said that my book was really, really engrossing and engaging. And, truth be told, the amount of effort I put into the book, the amount of levels of time and distance and things that happen in the book, that book clubs discover lots of different layers in it. And, I know it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, but I'm really telling you the incredible amount of effort I put into writing it creates a very engrossing novel. And it's one of 3 novels. It's the first in the trilogy. And it made me realize that people who have engrossed brains, type A engrossed brains, need some sort of type A engagement for fun sometimes. So a really engaging book answers that need. So I'm telling you right now, I'm going to establish this as a new genre. Engagement fiction. So there you go. Now there may be something in your life that you use as engagement fiction, but I'm telling you right now that The Sword and the Sunflower trilogy is engagement fiction. So 2 things from this. 1, think about engagement fiction and engagement fun for you, and think about the kind of things that might really engage you. And the hesitation with that, and I felt this myself, is that when you say, hey, it's kind of time for fun, it's a big commitment to go, well, what could I do that's engaging? And as somebody who has a number of engaging hobbies that have sort of turned into also profitable things, like, I have my license, so I do aerial photography. That's very engaging. It's very serious. I want to do that for fun sometimes, and sometimes it's a little too stressful and intense to be all that fun. I do 3D printing, and that's definitely engaging and definitely fun, but it also is a lot of tedium. It's a lot of flakiness in the device and so forth. So that can be engaging with sort of, they both have that stress overhead that could happen. But reading doesn't. Someone did all the work for you. You can do it as much or as little as you want, and it's there for you. And it's really cool. And it's one of the things I really like is the physical book. It just feels better. It just feels like you have this thing that you're going to accomplish, and you have this thing that's reminding you that it's a very physical, tangible manifestation of this fun engagement. Holding this physical novel and then putting it on your table and then passing it by, and then realizing, oh yeah, I should pick that up again. is kind of a cool reminder that when you're done with your type A stuff, you can then go into this kind of engagement. I'm sure my books aren't uniquely engaging. I'm sure there are a ton of them out there, which is why I'm saying that I think this should be a genre that, you know, people who engage a lot mentally and philosophically and even emotionally, they could really use something like this. I mean, people who have taxing fields like healthcare are very engaged, you know, intellectually, philosophically, and even emotionally in what they do. And they may come home and go, I don't want to feel empty. I kind of need something to engage me. And that draws me back to the book and books, which again, there's no stress overhead. It's just going for the ride. And one of the things that I thought was hilarious was that he kind of alluded to that it being a wild ride. And one of the reviewers said that The Sword and the Sunflower was absolutely a wild ride. As I always try to do in my podcasts, I'd like to raise awareness of something that either you weren't very aware of or weren't aware of at all. And that's the engagement fiction and the need for type A engagement people to have engagement. And then once you have that awareness, what do you want to do about it? So now that you have the awareness, probably a good idea to think about things in your life that you may consider as being engagement fun. You may not have any. You may have been wanting some engagement fun for quite some time. And even if you are aware of engagement fun, even if you've pursued engagement fun, you may have never really thought of fiction as being engagement fun. Because, you know, frankly, there's a lot of fiction out there, like a lot of everything that is just meh. It's just okay, right? I mean, if you think about movies, especially in this day and age, and that sounds like I'm old, and I am, movies now, the trailers essentially tell you the entire movie. I mean, it doesn't take much intelligence to figure out everything based on most trailers these days. They don't hint at things. And one of the things that really concerned me with trying to write the summary of The Sword and the Sunflower, Amira, Upside Down, and even, or especially, The Devil's in the Details, all 4 fiction I've written, those, it was difficult trying to write it to entice people enough, but also not give anything away. And The Sword and the Sunflower has about 1,000 things I didn't want to give away in it. And people have told me that people who read that book, there's a lot of payoffs in it. And that was really important to me. So if you were paying attention to the book, there are payoffs, and that's part of the engagement. Like, you put all this mental energy into going, wait, I remember that, or wait, I'm onto this. And then you get a big payoff from it. That feels really good. It feels as good as doing the kind of engaging things that you're hopefully doing for a living. And if you're not doing engaging things and you want to, check out some of my other podcast episodes, because I do talk about job, career, or calling and the differences between those and how we approach things like that. I've done an episode about if you're a smarty pants, you're at a disadvantage because then everyone expects you to just figure things out. And again, we're back in the area where you're going to have a lot of stress for doing something you like, which is maybe figuring things out. So if you have engagement fun that you're interested in or want me to know about, please feel free to reach out as always. If you have read The Sword and the Sunflower and you haven't reviewed it, I implore you to please review it, especially if you liked it, or maybe only if you liked it. No, I'm kidding. And if you haven't checked out my books, please do. Please check out The Sword and the Sunflower. It really meant a lot to me writing it. It was sort of like being in love, where you wake up and you think about the characters and they're the last thing you think about before you go to bed. That's how it felt writing that, and it was really cool. So thank you for listening. As always, thank you for being here at the moment we have established a new genre together. You can tell your friends, this is where I was. Where were you when we established this new genre? And you can tell them. So take care.
Living life every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days. Yeah.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, you might enjoy my books. Check them out on Amazon.
Living life every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days.